tired of selling your time to the highest bidder? What's up, guys? It's Vanessa here with Notary to Notary, and I'm super excited to be able to teach you how you can build a six-figure notary signing agent business. Now, I know you're probably thinking, how can a notary make six figures? I know, right? But you can. I've been doing it since 2016. Not only that, I've been training since 2019 and have tons of student reviews who have done the same. All you have to do is listen to the steps that I'm teaching you in my all-inclusive training at notarytonotary.com. Forbes even called me the top entrepreneur that's changing the way people work today. Sounds good, doesn't it? But in order for you to see those results, you're gonna have to take action. So stop watching this video, click the link below, and go sign up for my training today. You'll be happy that you did.
So I'm going to have you do a little work tonight. When I go like this, you go, love. That's right. Let's try this one more time. Love. Oh, come on. One more time. Love. Great. Okay. So think back to when you were younger, when you had the opportunity to maybe be artistic, or maybe you were very athletic. You got to build different things because you didn't have the responsibilities. And then what happens? You grow up. It's important now with this time in your life to take a hold of yourself and say, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to be, right? Because once you start loving yourself, you're going to be able to attract the perfect person that's going to love you for who you are and for the qualities you have. That's right, rock yourself. Love the skin you're in. Love yourself from roots to boots. Because when you step into your shoes, you become like a proud peacock where you're spreading those feathers. That's right, because you're unique. And no feather on a peacock is alike, just like you.
I love the energy in the room here today. This is epic. You feel like your heart swells. You can burst out of your chest. You can walk on water. Love is the elixir.
You need to continue to spread your
Love! Thank you, everybody. I'm available if anybody would like to talk. Have a great evening. Have some more wine. Sit and meet some people around here. And thank you so much.
Now, hey!
oh, hugs and kisses. I put on special perfume for you. Can you smell everybody? I have to tell you something real quickly. You found that video that was a couple of years ago. And I said, everybody drink wine. So make sure we have our coffee this morning. You can drink later.
Yeah. I love that video. And I was watching a lot of your videos. I love your energy and I love your vibes. I was like, that little video didn't even share, didn't do justice. So when you're talking, I'm going to find the little clips they can put in the chat for them so they can watch it later. But I think I love, you can tell that you love what you do. You know, you can tell. It's so effortless because you can tell you're so engaged. And then you can tell when someone's teaching it and then it's versus someone who really loves it, you know?
Well, and that's probably why I really enjoy speaking to you and your community, because I was noticing in your opening video, multiple streams of income, Vanessa, are so important. And people don't realize that today. We get so complacent with thinking, okay, you know what, we're getting all of our revenue from one area, but really we can't put our eggs in one basket. And that's the key thing that I always try to tell people, even myself too. And I love your call to action, your CTA. So we're going to have a call to action later on too. But good morning, everybody from Las Vegas. Oh, and by the way, I don't think there's another redhead in the house. That's my golden retriever. And later on, my grandbabies are coming, and then weddings later today. So I have a full day.
Busy.
All right. So we're going to talk about today about behind the scenes of a wedding ceremony. I'm going to give you a great blueprint of wedding ceremonies here in Las Vegas. So that's the key thing. And, as Vanessa said, love is just really one of the greatest things that you can experience in life. And when you decide, if you decide that this might be something for you, you're going to be hooked. I'm going to tell you, it's like a drug. So let's start this presentation. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things. I'm going to take you through an outline so you know exactly what is going to happen today. Now, you heard Vanessa talking about having a six-figure income, right? On what it, yes, 100,000. Well, I want you to know last year, part-time, I earned 100,000 in Las Vegas. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of behind the scenes background so that you know. And in Las Vegas, we probably, because we do about 80,000 wedding ceremonies, I'm going to say that again, 80,000 wedding ceremonies, we receive a probably less of a price point per wedding ceremony than you would in your area. I just spoke to an officiant in New York last week, and he gets anywhere between $900 and $2,000. So there's just a lot of income that you can be losing and leaving it on the table. So kind of stay with me to the very end, and I'm going to give you a special offer as we go through it. I'm going to go through a sample wedding walkthrough. Make sure all your distractions are turned off. We don't want anything or anyone disrupting you, because this is valuable information. So the first 5 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how you show up, your credibility, okay? Knowledge and trust are the key things. And also, take time to personalize the ceremony for the couple and verify and research the proper licensing so that you know. Now, I want you to know, because this particular presentation I usually do on, my PowerPoint, it's not going to show you all the fancy fade ins and outs. So I apologize for that. So again, we're going to talk a little bit about me, how to show up, make it personal, and know the legalities. So you know what? I want you to take a moment and think about what you want to do. I mean, what do you really enjoy doing? What lights you up? Okay, what actually makes you jump out of bed in the morning? Because weddings, and I have to tell you this from my own personal experience, when you get involved and you're performing a wedding ceremony, and you walk into a room and you meet the couple for the first time or on the phone, and you talk to them about their love story and why they're getting married, and then you actually perform the wedding ceremony, you feel like you are walking on cloud nine. That's one thing I have to say. You feel like you are on top of the world because you made an impact. I mean, imagine walking into a couple's special day. You're sharing words of wisdom, of love, right? And not just to the couple. Take a moment and think about the people that are in the room, because sometimes when they have guests, and you might have been to wedding ceremonies where you might not be that happy with your significant other, and then all of a sudden the officiant says something and you look at your partner and go, there are things I love about them. So you're not just impacting the couple, you're impacting the guest in the room. But let's go one step further. What you say to the couple has a life. And there might be something that you say that stays with them for the rest of their lives. So that when maybe they're going through some wonderful times, they go back and think about you and the ceremony or the words that you said. Or they're going through some difficulties and they pull from what you said. So it's a powerful, powerful profession and skill. So if you are ready, you want to have fun and you want to make money, this is definitely for you. So, maybe, yes, you are a notary right now and you love what you're doing. But you know what? Sometimes you just don't want to just do one thing, just like when you need another stream of income. Or maybe you're in a desk job. Maybe you're on this webinar. You're not too sure. You're thinking, I want to do something else. Okay, then you're in the right place. But you're looking to do something fun. And I think that is the key thing, something fun. So I want to share with you, I'll have some pictures here besides you want to impact other people, right? And you love working with people. And by the way, if you're thinking about public speaking, or you have another position where you present and you're just not comfortable, this is going to help you. These skills will definitely elevate your communication skills and help you with being more articulate and comfortable in front of also a camera, because you're videotaped as well when you go to these wedding ceremonies. Now, you want to build more freedom and financial freedom. And that's what Vanessa talks about. That's what I talk about. That's why having multiple streams of income make a difference. And especially now, we all know what's going on with the economy. And it's getting to be a lot more expensive to be able to do things. Some of us, we had planned out our life, our income, and then all of a sudden everything happened. We had seen an increase on everything that we're purchasing, everything that we're doing. So adding another revenue stream also can help you as well. Plus, it's fun. It gives you freedom. So one thing I want to ask you, tell me a little bit about why you're here. In other words, you're here because you want to learn a little bit more about something else that you can do that actually works with what you actually have as far as a licensed notary. So as I know, there are only about 3 or 4 states, I'm not too sure which ones, that don't recognize notaries as an officiant. So this is kind of built in. This is like ready-made for you when you think about it. And that's what's great. Now you have a choice, right? You have 2 doors. You can either continue on the path that you're doing, or you can add and take the other door, like door 1 and door 2, whichever you want. If you know you can go through door 1 and you can just stay on the path that you're at, or are you ready to level yourself up and learn new skills and challenge yourself and maybe get a little uncomfortable? That's okay. There's nothing wrong with being uncomfortable. So when you do that, you grow. And when you grow, you learn. And you know what? There's such a satisfaction into learning something new. So I'm going to share with you a little tiny bit about me. You're wondering, as you heard, Vanessa had pulled some of the video. So I was in the rent-a-car industry, for close to 40 years. We owned a car rental company in Las Vegas, my late husband and I. I'm a widow. I've been a widow for almost 10 years. And when we sold our rent-a-car company, I decided, you know what? I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to do something fun. I didn't necessarily want a big business again. And I went to a wedding ceremony here in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Country Club. And I saw a woman performing the ceremony. And I said, I can do that. So I actually went out and I got my license. And I want you to know, when I got my license 13 years ago in Las Vegas, it wasn't like it is today. Okay. You had to be affiliated with the religious organization that was recognized by the state. And it was a little bit more difficult because, let's face it, we are the wedding capital of the world. However, I want to back up and share something with you. Because of COVID, I learned over at Wedding MBA in November that we expect to see an increase of about 20 to 25% of more wedding ceremonies over the next couple of years. So that means, and let me tell you what that equates to. That equates to about 2.7 million wedding ceremonies just throughout the United States. 2.7 million wedding ceremonies. This is over a few billion-dollar industry. The wedding industry is as big as the car industry, the car manufacturer industry. So again, becoming a wedding officiant, you just never know where this can take you. So I want you to know I'm a mom, a grandma. This is one of my granddaughters right here, Selah, and I love cooking. And of course, I love dogs too. So there's my Great Dane in the background as I go to the park, and they just love me. I have a great fan club, and most of them are males right now because I'm feeding them, right? I'm also on the board for the Las Vegas Wedding Chamber of Commerce. And what I'm going to share with you today is, I want my long journey of how I learned how to officiate wedding ceremonies to be your shortcut. Because when I started, again, it wasn't easy in this industry. And years ago, also, when I went out, it was a very staunch industry. And a lot of the wedding chapels really had their own ministers. And I'm going to tell you something. It was definitely a male-dominated industry. However, I came from a male-dominated industry. I came from the car rental industry. I was president. And I was one of the first women to be awarded a contract for a car rental concession in one of the largest airports in Las Vegas. So I felt like that was, an easy thing that I can deal with. Well, how wrong I was. I had to really crack the code to get into the different chapels. And the way I broke into the chapels here in Las Vegas is I told the chapel managers and owners that I would do commitment ceremonies, because at the time when I started, same gender weddings were not recognized. And there were very staunch ministers that would not perform same gender weddings. Now I want to stop right here for a second. In Nevada, when you are issued an officiant's license, you have to officiate wedding ceremonies for everybody. You cannot discriminate, so that you know. And if you are affiliated with a religious organization and you're performing a wedding in a religious facility, that's completely different, such as priests, right? Such as temples, the Jewish temples, that's a little different. But when you become an officiant, non-denominational, which I am, you must perform wedding ceremonies for everybody. You can't discriminate. But one of the coolest things, and it took me a little bit of time, and I actually officiate weddings on boats, on very large boats, hot air balloons. So I almost got to officiate a hot air balloon. And I got to tell you, I wasn't too sure, everyone. We actually had to meet at about 3:45 in the morning, drove to Pahrump, an area that's where the hot air balloon takes off, about 35 minutes. We got there and the wind was over 5 miles an hour, so we couldn't do it. And I was sort of making the sign of the cross, I have to tell you, because I wasn't too sure about a hot air balloon, but maybe that might be the thing for you. But I do perform them in helicopters over the Las Vegas Strip. I work with Maverick Helicopters, and maybe there is a helicopter company near where you are. So you never know. You can just check that out, because I'm sure they perform wedding ceremonies. And I also go to the Grand Canyon with Maverick. I go to Valley of Fire and Red Rock. And, there's destination weddings too. So and more, there's so many things you can do with this. So as I said, performing weddings are something that is a strategic way to impact couples on one of the happiest days of their lives. And that's what's important. So one of the things I talk about, okay, and this is where we're going, is how you show up. And you all know, just yourselves, being a professional, when you show up or somebody comes into your company and you're notarizing, you have to be professional. And how you show up means everything as well. And also, you need to be personable. We're going to cover those things as well. You need to have some warmth. You need to have some personality. You need to say, hey, I'm happy I'm here. This is a gift. And we're going to talk a little bit about the legalities of what it takes, knowing the legalities, where you're located. And I'm sure some of you might be able to tell me in the chat later when we open up for questions where you're all located. And you know what? Prepare yourself for self-sabotage, because as we're going through this webinar, you might be thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have the time. Well, let me tell you something. If you want to grow as an individual and you want to sharpen your skills and your professional skills, don't sabotage yourself. And even though, yes, it takes a little time, okay, you never know where a path can take you. So don't allow one door not to open because you're stuck. And that's what happens. If you are the type of person that you are looking to grow, you're always expanding, always learning, this is for you. And I want you to know something. I didn't start this until I was in my 50s, my middle 50s. And I've been doing this for 13 years. So I'm sort of giving away my age. We're going to check in. I want to make sure throughout this little webinar presentation that you're following me as well. And why, of course, you should work with me. That's important if you decide to do so. And then we'll have some Q&A, probably through the chat. It might not be live. So let's take a moment. You're thinking, okay, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to officiate weddings. And the key thing, like I say, everybody, how you show up sets the tone for your clients. And you need to be prepared. Just like you're prepared if you are taking documents and you're notarizing them for somebody, you need to have everything in order, right? You can't have everything disheveled. The same thing when you show up for a wedding ceremony. And I see this with many officiants in Las Vegas, as they just show up and they're looking and they're not too sure of the couple's names. And, oh, yeah. They'll say, you really need to be prepared. Preparation means everything. Preparation means everything. And when you prepare, right, preparation meets opportunity. That's what they say. So remember, being prepared is the biggest thing. And I always say, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you pride yourself and you are prepared, you know that when you show up, you're going to just rock it. And that's what's important. I'm sure that when you got your notary licensing, you had to study. You just couldn't go in and say, hey, I'm going to pay so much money and I'm going to become a notary. And like I said, what's great is you can officiate wedding ceremonies as well, and other things too, which I'll talk about as we get to the end. So when you meet a couple, and one thing people don't recognize too is that couples sometimes have different expectations for their ceremony. Now, what I cover usually in my course is I go through, of course, the basics, which we'll talk about: the ceremony, the outline. When you take my course, the processional, the recessional, the presentation of the bride or a partner. But there are other things in a wedding ceremony. So maybe a couple wants a special reading. Think about it. They might want a special reading from the Bible, a special poem. Or they might want to do a hand fasting ceremony. How many of you have ever seen a hand fasting ceremony? That's with the 3 cords, or a lasso ceremony. So those are things that can happen when you show up at a wedding ceremony. And I'll never forget, I did a hand fasting ceremony where the bride had 6 different cords. And that was really, really tough. And I was green and I knew nothing about it. So it's important when you decide, if you decide to get into this particular revenue stream, that you pretty much are familiar with unity candles, sand ceremony, hand fasting, and lasso ceremony, which is very common in the Hispanic community and also the Filipino community, where they wrap the rosaries around the couple. So that's important as well. So that's why you need to always, you never know what the couple's expectations are going to be and special request. And I always say, be flexible. Be flexible. Now, that's why it's so important to make sure that you're not underprepared, right? You need to read the fine print and sort of know everything that's going on. And that's why talking about the wedding license, what needs to be done, how it needs to be filled out. So that's why you want to make sure you are prepared for everything you're doing. You know, in Las Vegas, we actually have to take an 1.5-hour course on just filling out the paperwork for, and if somebody is getting married, because it has to be properly done. And it's important that it's done in the right fashion. And we have guidelines, and I'm sure you do where you live as well. So one of the things too is making a wedding ceremony personable. And how do you do that, right? Well, you do that by learning a bit about the couple, depending upon where you're located. And if you are working with the couple prior to their ceremony, now here in Las Vegas, and I don't know what it's like where you're at, most of the time we show up and meet the couple for the first time a half an hour before their wedding ceremony. And again, this is a bigger business here. But where your neck of the woods, people find out that you're doing wedding ceremonies, you have an opportunity to meet with them beforehand, to learn a little bit about their love story, to find out a bit about who's going to be in their bridal party. Are they going to write their own vows? Do they want you to customize their vows? Because when you customize certain vows for couples, you can also make additional money as well. But you want to spend time with the couple and getting to know them beforehand. And in probably where you're located, okay, when people find out that you're doing wedding ceremonies and you actually meet with the couple, whether it's on Zoom, on FaceTime, or in person, you're going to factor that into your cost as well, especially too if they want you to show up for rehearsal. And I usually cover that anyway in my course. There's so many different things that you can add onto a wedding ceremony to make it, again, special for the couple. And that's what's important, because you want to add that personal touch. You want to add that personal touch to that couple's special day. And you really want to make it unique. And that's what's important, because you want to make it your own. And as you become familiar with performing weddings, this becomes just like not second nature, but then your personality starts to show. And that's what's important too. You know, I always say that you're one relationship away from your life changing forever, right? One relationship, you might meet that one person, like me today, you met me. And now you can be in a situation where you might be thinking, I want to perform wedding ceremonies. So I want you to just take a minute and think of the last wedding ceremony you attended. Think about the last ceremony. Do you remember who performed the ceremony? Were there any words, anything that jumped out? Anything that made you think, ooh, this is not one of the best ceremonies? And most ceremonies, I want you to know, most officiants, we follow a format. Okay, and I give you that format. As a matter of fact, there's a free ceremony outline guide if you follow me or go to my website that I actually have there that gives you, it's free, it's all free, on an outline of an actual wedding ceremony. Okay, so that's available to you. And I'm going to just give you a quick outline right now. You're not going to remember this, and you might. The officiant walks out and introduces themselves. The officiant then welcomes everyone and tells them maybe to turn off their cell phones. Then, of course, the processional starts. That's the bridal party. Then you have the presentation of the bride or the partner. From there, after that, your words of love, your words of wisdom that you're going to share. And in my course, I usually have you cover 3 parts. And it's a few minutes, depending upon how long you want to go. From that point, then you have the vows exchange and the I do's. After that, there's the ring exchange if they're exchanging rings. After that, Then there might be some what I call ceremony enhancements, where a couple might want a sand ceremony. They might want a unity candle, a lasso ceremony. And then after that's completed, then you pronounce the couple, which is very important. And then you have the bridal party, you have the recessional. So that's a quick outline of what a ceremony looks like. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it really is not. Once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. You do a few ceremonies, you get it under your belt, and you're comfortable. It's just like you notarizing, no different. Your first few times, you might be a little nervous, and then when you become familiar and comfortable. So remember, you are one relationship away from your life changing forever. But it's important to know the legalities, to check the legalities of where you're located. And the reason I say that is you might be in a part of a state or area where you have different counties. So maybe the licensing might be different, double check. Or in Nevada, for example, my officiant license is for anywhere in Nevada. However, if I were to go to California, I need to find out what it takes for me to be legal in California. Now, sometimes most states will recognize the officiant license, but on a notary case, I'm not too sure. You need to double check. And sometimes you don't need to be a notary in another county or state. You can just get your officiant's license as well. And one of the things I tell my students all the time is you might be a notary right now and you can officiate weddings, but I highly recommend, and it's in my course, that you go to American Marriage Ministries and get your credentials. And what I mean by credentials is it's an ordination online, and it's free, where you can then have a title of reverend or minister. And that just adds to your credibility, especially if you're serious about doing this. So I would definitely highly recommend that, because some people feel just a little better when you say, hey, I'll say, hi, I'm Reverend Maria. I'm your minister. I'm officiating your wedding ceremony. So, and it does not cost anything to do that. If you want to order any paperwork from them and add to it, cost you a few dollars, but it's definitely well worth it. And again, it adds to your credibility, but know the legalities of where you are located. That is so important, is double check that you can perform wedding ceremonies as well, even though you are a notary. You want to make sure in order, and you want to make sure you look at the paperwork. The paperwork is so critical. We had an instance in Las Vegas where a couple was married about 45 years ago, and the partner passed away. And when they went to file for Social Security benefits and they had to produce the marriage license, the minister never filed the marriage license. So guess what? That was a big legal thing, right? That technically, according to Social Security, they were never married because it has to be recorded. And you know that, right? You know that just in your industry, that you have to make sure the documents that you're presenting back, maybe you're working with a real estate company, a mortgage company, that has to be recorded. You have deeds or other type of legal documents. So the same thing when it comes to a marriage license. Know the legalities. So, and research that information. That is so important. And you might have to file the license. Now, there are a few states where the couple does, but most states, I know in Colorado, you don't necessarily have to file the marriage license, but the couple does. So, but in our case, we must file it. It's incumbent upon us here. So double check. So let's take a moment here. You might be thinking, okay, I don't know, I can really do this. Well, if this is something that interests you and you want to have fun, and I mean have fun, impact couples on one of the happiest days of their lives, think about it. Don't allow those negative gremlins to get in the way. Very, very important, And yes, you're not going to be a success overnight, but if you start with small steps, Okay. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day. Your mother waited 9 months for you, right? Or 8 months, whatever. But you can do this. You can add to your income as well. I mean, this again is a great, great side hustle, and I love it.
All right. So you went full time in 2014. So you've been doing it full time for like 8 years, or how?
I went full time in 2016. So I did it part time for 2 years. And then I quit my full time job in 2016 when I realized that I was losing money being at work because I was missing calls and missing texts. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. And I just quit. But that's my personality. I'm very sporadic. And I said, all right,
dope, bro. That's dope. Like, you having the confidence to be an entrepreneur and step out 100%, bet on yourself is super dope. A lot of people would have been too scared to do that. So you having the wherewithal to say, hey, I'm losing money, I'm going to transition out and bet on myself is super dope.